Hey everyone, my name is Rebecca, and today I'll be talking about ACT practice test number 2, numbers 11 to 20, which are on page 372 to 373. Number 11. Which of the following statement best describes how the passage characterizes William's response to Caroline's discovery of a comet? A. The passage makes it clear that though William applauded Caroline's discovery, he was disappointed that Caroline wasn't looking for nebulae. B. The passage claims that William supported Caroline's discovery by verifying the comet himself. C. The passage states that William resented the fact that Caroline's comet was recognized so quickly. Or D. The passage does not give a clear indication of how William felt about Caroline's discovery. So because I don't know the answer to that question, I looked in the very beginning to see if it talks about it. Since it doesn't, I'm going to skip this question until later because it makes no mention of Caroline within the first few paragraphs. Number 12. In the passage, the author emphasizes the large size of William's powerful telescope's octagon tube by comparing the tube's height to that of a F. series of ladders, G. wooden gantry, H. hayloft, or J. house. So I'm going to look back at the passage and read until I find out. So here we go. In the summer of 1785, astronomer William Herschel embarked on his revolutionary new project to observe and resolve the heavens with a telescope more powerful than ever previously attempted. What he intended to build was a telescope of Newtonian form with an octagon tube 40 foot long and 5 feet in diameter, the speculum mirrors of which it would be necessary to have at least 2 or perhaps 3. The telescope would have to be mounted in an enormous wooden gantry, capable of being turned safely on its axis by just 2 workmen, but also susceptible to the finest fingertip adjustments by the observing astronomer. The 40-foot would be higher than a house. Okay, so we found our answer. The 40-foot would be higher than a house, so J is our answer. Number 13. The primary function of the 5th paragraph, lines 31 to 40, is to A. Explain the methods Caroline used to perform her comet sweeps. B. Shift the passage's focus from William's project to Caroline's own astronomical work. C. Describe the renovations Caroline made to the stables in order to accommodate William's telescope. Or D. Introduce the passage's discussion of how Caroline's observation techniques compare to William's. So through skimming the next 2 paragraphs, I found out that William's sister is named Caroline, and they're building a new house. So here we go. This is the next paragraph that we were supposed to read for the passage. The house itself was not large, but it had sheds and stables, which were gradually converted into workshops and laboratories. Above the stables were a series of haylofts, which could be converted into a separate apartment. Caroline claimed these for her own. A small outside staircase led up to a flat roof from which she hoped to carry out her comet sweeps in security and independently. She would check over the calculations of William's nebulae by day and make her sweeps up on the roof by night. And so through this passage, it seems that Caroline is starting to do her own work. So I think the answer is B. Shift the passage's focus from William's project to Caroline's own astronomical work. Number 14. In the context of the passage, the excerpt from Caroline's book of work done primarily serves to F. outline the process by which Caroline determined her finding was a comet. G. Provide an example of the types of observation notes Caroline made for William. H. Illustrate Caroline's growing sense of excitement about her discovery. Or J. Explain Dr. Blagden's and Mr. Albert's role in verifying Caroline's discovery. So because I don't know what the answer is, and I also don't know what the book of work done is, I'm going to go back in the passage and read on. So after reading this one, I'm going to start from here. William had built Caroline a special 2-foot Newtonian reflector. Because of its large aperture, its tube appeared much fatter, heavier, and stubbier than normal reflectors of this type. Suspended from a pivot at the top of the box frame, the telescope could be precisely raised or lowered by a system of pulleys operated by a winding handle. These adjustments were easy to make and extremely fine. This beautiful instrument was designed specifically for its huge light-gathering power and its wide angle of vision. The magnification was comparatively low at 24 times. As with modern binoculars, this combination of low power with a large viewing field allowed the observer to see faint stellar objects very brightly while placing them within a comparatively wide context of surrounding stars. The telescope was perfectly designed to spot any strange or unknown object moving through the familiar field of fixed stars. In other words, to catch new planets or new comets. On the 1st of August, 1786, only 2 nights after starting her new sweeps, Caroline thought she spotted an unknown stellar object moving through the Ursa Major, the Great Bear constellation. It appeared to be descending, but barely perceptibly, towards a triangulation of stars in the beautifully named constellation Coma Berenices. To find something so quickly and in such a familiar place, the Great Bear or Big Dipper being the first stop of every amateur stargazer wanting to locate the pole star, seemed wildly unlikely. Caroline's observation book conveys meticulous caution, but also a remarkable certainty. Unable to calculate the mathematical coordinates of the object, she accompanied her observations with a series of 3 neat drawings or figures over an 80-minute time lapse. These showed the circular viewing field of her telescope with an asterisk shape, very slightly changing position relative to 3 known fixed stars. The account written in her book of work done catches something of her growing excitement. August 1st, I have calculated 100 nebulae today, and this evening I saw an object which I believe will prove tomorrow night to be a comet. August 2nd, 1 o'clock. The object of last night is a comet. August 3rd, I did not go to rest till I had written to Dr. Blagden at the Royal Society and Mr. Albert to announce the comet. The verification of Caroline's comet was achieved much more rapidly than William's discovery of the planet Uranus had been. Its movement through Coma Berenices was relatively easy to ascertain, and its fine hazy tail or coma was unmistakable. So, according to what we just read, it seems that her notebook illustrates Caroline's growing sense of excitement about her discovery, and it also says the process by which she determined her finding out was a comet. However, it doesn't really detail a lot about the process. It's more of her excitement and actually figuring out that it's a comet, so the answer therefore must be H. Number 15. As it is used in line 12, the word finest most nearly means A, slightest, B, fairest, C, thinnest, or D, greatest. So we can go back to line 12 and see that it says, but also susceptible to the finest fingertip adjustments by the observing astronomer. So it looks like even the smallest fingertip adjustment by the observing astronomer, something can be changed. Therefore, it means smallest. Slightest means smallest. Therefore, A is the answer. In line 12, the word finest most nearly means slightest. A. Number 16. The passage most strongly suggests that while William operated his telescope, Caroline would have to work below in a special booth because F. She would be relaying William's instructions to the workmen who turned the telescope. G. She preferred seclusion while working on the calculations. H. The telescope's viewing platform would not be large enough to hold both William and Caroline. Or J. The light from her lamp would interfere with William's view of the night sky. So I don't remember the answer to this question, but I do remember that Caroline was supposed to be shut in a special booth. So right here, in line 16, 17, 18, and 19, it talks about how the assistant has to be shut in a special booth below to avoid light pollution. Therefore, it doesn't want to create light that blocks William's view, and therefore that means that the answer should be J. The light from her lamp would interfere with William's view of the night sky, and that is why she has to work below in a special booth. Number 17. Which of the following questions is most directly answered by the passage? A. What inspired William to embark on his project to observe and resolve the heavens? B. Why did Caroline and William move to the grove? C. Why couldn't Caroline calculate the coordinates of the comet she discovered? Or D. How long did it take the Royal Society to confirm Caroline's discovery was a new comet? So in the beginning of this passage, it doesn't really talk about what inspired William to embark on his project. It just starts by saying that he did this project, but it doesn't talk about why. And B, yes, that's true. He wanted to move to a new house, a bigger house, and that's why they moved to the Grove, which is, I believe it's right here. He decided that the grand project required a new house, so they moved to the Grove. And then C, why couldn't Caroline, so this is fine. And then C, why couldn't Caroline calculate the coordinates? She didn't really talk about why she couldn't calculate the coordinates, and so that's not directly answered. And D is also very vaguely answered, not really directly answered. It just says much more rapidly, but it doesn't say a direct time. So therefore, the most directly answered question is B. Why did Caroline and William move to the Grove? Number 18. It can be most reasonably be inferred from the passage that compared to normal telescopes of its type, the 2-foot Newtonian reflector William built had F, a larger aperture, G, a smaller box frame, H, more magnifying power, or J, less light gathering power. Okay, so I don't know what any of these mean or what they are, but what I do know is that the passage must have the answer. They're not going to expect me to know what any of this is, but they do expect me to know how to read the passage. And so I can go back onto the passage, go back to the passage and find out that the special 2-foot Newtonian reflector has a large aperture. Aha, so our answer is right here in line 42. And so it says that this 2-foot Newtonian reflector that William built Caroline has a large aperture, and that's all we need to know for our answer, and therefore our answer is F. Number 19. According to the passage, when Caroline first saw her comets, it appeared to be moving through A. Coma Berenices and descending toward the pole star, B. Coma Berenices and descending toward stars in the Big Dipper, C. Ursa Major and descending toward stars in the Coma Berenices, or D. A triangulation of stars which included the pole star and descending toward Coma Berenices. And so we can go back to the passage and look at where she found the comet first. From this, it looks like she thought she saw an unknown stellar object moving toward the Ursa Major, descending towards a triangulation of stars. So through these lines from 63 to 65, we can find that it starts from Ursa Major, it's descending towards a triangulation of stars. So that is, the answer is C. Number 20. The passage indicates that Caroline's discovery of a new comet was unlikely because Caroline F. found the comet quickly in a part of the sky that was familiar to astronomers and stargazers. G. knew more about nebulae than she knew about comets. H. had already discovered a planet while performing observations with William. Or J. had little experience calculating the mathematical coordinates of stellar objects. So in this paragraph, in lines 67 all the way to 70, this reads, "To find something so quickly and in such a familiar place seemed wildly unlikely." I just skipped like the big comma phrase, but essentially it means that this area of the sky was very, very familiar to stargazers and astronomers, and so it seemed very unlikely that she would find something new here. However, that is exactly what the question is asking us about, like, why was it unlikely? And the reason is because she is looking at a place in the sky that's very familiar to astronomers and stargazers, but she did find a comet in this area, so therefore the answer is F. Lastly, we can go back to number 11 after reading the entire passage, and we can read the question. Which of the following statements best describes how the passage characterizes William's response to Caroline's discovery of a comet? And so I read this question before as well, and that's how I knew it was like a main idea question, kind of just like that it seems that I need to read the entire passage before knowing the answer. Generally, if the first question is like this, I would skip it. However, if the question is not like this, I will try to answer it if I can in chronological order. And so the answer choices are A. The passage makes it clear that although William applauded Caroline's discovery, he was disappointed that Caroline wasn't looking for the nebulae. B. The passage claims that William supported Caroline's discovery by verifying the comet himself. C. The passage states that Williams resented the fact that Caroline's comet was recognized so quickly. Or D. The passage does not give a clear indication of how William felt about Caroline's discovery. As I read this passage, I didn't notice any place where it talks about how William felt about Caroline's discovery. In fact, only like the last few paragraphs do talk about her discovery, and the only mention of William is that it was more like this was achieved, the verification was achieved faster than William's discovery was achieved, but it doesn't talk about William's feelings, therefore I think the answer will be D. The passage does not give a clear indication of how William felt about Caroline's discovery. So lastly, here are some tips for just in general for reading questions. One is to read the passage and follow along with the questions. 2 is to mark out the passage as you read for faster reading and quick notes. And 3 is to keep in mind to find text to support your answer instead of guessing at what sounds correct, because they'll always put like trick questions there or trick answers that are technically correct but not textually stated. However, you'll often find that what is accurate is often text based. So just keep that in mind. So if there is something that is text based, follow that. But in general, like something that is text-based usually will be accurate.